again, we finish up the conversation from last week. Tuliacha katikati mambo ya uongo. I think we started about lying. And before we came live, we were having a conversation with Jacob Aliet here. Na alikuwa anasema mambo ya mapenzi ni kama campaign. Tunajenga barabara, tunajenga dams. Kitu muhimu ni kushinda election. Kesi baadaye. You talk about the burden of performance and hypergamy. You get to know about that very shortly. Najua watu wengi hamjui, wanaume mjue hypergamy ni nini. Very soon, you get to know about that very shortly. Also, still want to remind you that you can get the books by these two gentlemen, Unplugged by Jacob Aliet. You can talk to him directly. You can even talk to us this evening. Unaweza weka comment section hapo, alafu tunaweza kupiga order yako from Jacob Aliet, that is Unplugged. And also you can get the books by Silas Nyanchwani, Man About Town, 50 Memos to Men. There is also Sexorcised. I think if you've not read that, then you need to read it. You need to start reading it. Anyway, Moses Gitau ameita Otieno Pondo. Asante sana. Baba Luzea Nesta unaitwa Hamuka. Ngaja David unaitwa Kimbia haraka upesi sana. Kod King anaita Rodney Kirui John Kimbia. Moses Gitau anaita John Nine. Karibu sana. Moses Gitau sema Big Bad Hoga. Karibu. Kila mtu amusha mtu. Hillside Dry Cleaners. Ngong, good evening to you. Hillside Shujaa Simba. Nyaundi already on set. Asante sana. Felix Omariba, live and clear. Tuko ndani kama kawa, kama dawa. Kevin Selange, ile masani sasa. Haya Kimbia, amsheni wanaume. Every man should wake up another man. Amusha wanaume waje kusuba hapo, mambo inaweza kuharibika haraka upesi sana. Good evening to you, Jacob.
Yeah, good evening Gerald.
Nzuri sana bwana.
Habari ya weekend?
It's a good one.
What have you been up to?
It's a good one.
What have you been up to?
Just trying to enjoy the Arsenal match, but tunachapwa.
Pole sana, ndio today leo na nguvu una uwezo.
Man is really coming hard at us.
Yeah. And I think Man could take up the Premier League if you guys are not careful.
Yeah, there's every chance.
Yeah. So shida ni inakuanga nini? 1 minute man.
It's the February curse. Ikifika February
you start dipping.
Yeah.
Jacob Aliet, good evening.
Good evening pana.
Yeah.
Niko salama kabisa.
Good to see you. Wewe peke yako ndio unavanga uniform, hujatupea uniform sisi.
Uniform inakuja.
Iko wapi?
Iko high seas.
Even as bana children.
Naleta container 3.
Iko kwa container.
Iko kwa container. So you just make your orders, ikifika hapa kazi yangu ni kugawa.
Haya. Tafadhali ambiwa kila mtu aambiwe okay. Mtoni wa Jima anasema Muso the toxic feminazi is here with a pen. Tafadhali Muso lala. Muso hatutaki wanawake kwa hiyo. Please lala. This is men only. Go and sleep. You don't want to start fighting about women because that's not the agenda that we have here. Tafadhali wa mama wote tunaomba mulale tafadhali. This is men only, and we can't have this conversation about men and the things that affect men. The only women who are allowed here are women that think like men. Like Ngendo wazee akatuambia bwana yake has never taken food from outside or cold food. Wewe sasa Mso nataka kuja kutuambia mwanaume aishi na microwave, and we will not accept it. So please go back to bed. All right. So also this week there's a very interesting conversation that came out. Mrs. Magoa alisema pia it's no day Mr. Magoa ate food from outside. No wake wamekuja wamesema unless you are a Magoa don't lecture us. Anyways, make of that. Silas, what do you expect if you go to Matue?
You know, generally Nigerian women are very feminine. Nigerian women, when you look across Africa, Nigerian men tend to be very strong. Yeah. And the women naturally tend to submit. So I think Barbara also being old school, she comes from that, like the traditional feminine Nigerian woman, which is slightly different from how Kenya has also had some very strong women and not so feminine. And if you want to know a country's women, you always look at their first ladies, and you look at the first ever first lady. The second lady we had, the second first lady, Moi's wife, we never saw her. Kibaki, the less say the better. So when you go to Nigeria, it's the exact opposite. Nigerian women are very feminine. So to her, it's just something that is very natural. And the few Kenyan women who are opposed to what she was saying, they're just a few modern, educated, corporate working class women. But most women actually do cook for their men. So you shouldn't take the exception of the few who are opposed to that to think that that's like the mainstream idea.
So if you become a corporate woman, you stop being a woman?
almost a few in Kenya, not all by the way. It's just a few. You know, the thing is that online, like
the few make the most noise.
The few messy people have like the platform, but the orderly good people out there don't even come online to tell us that they cook for their men. But those who don't cook normally come and say they don't cook.
Jacob,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
I thought.
What do you expect if you get home at 2 a.m.?
At 2 a.m., okay, I rarely get home at 2 a.m. But if I do, of course, my wife will be very concerned. She'll want to know that I'm okay, and she'll want to do whatever she needs to do to make me comfortable. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Are you playing safe or you're being honest?
No, this is the honest truth. It's the honest truth. And although I had people saying that what she meant was different from what you guys are saying. I don't think it was about cooking, but that's a story for another day.
She didn't specify the food.
Yeah, she didn't specify the food.
The sense of Gitao is saying that we need to pick up a conversation on something. He says, Moses Gitao is saying, Gerald Bitok, please request the duo to touch briefly this issue of this concept in quote, real man being propagated. What is, I mean, and maybe he wants to know, issue of real man.
Really?
Okay, can I read the message again? Please request the duo to touch briefly this issue of this concept, a real man. That is in quote, a real man being propagated.
The only people who talk about real men are women. Eh?
Okay.
And the definition of a real man is a man who meets the female imperative. What it means is that he is a man who takes care of his family. Okay. He takes responsibility. He works hard. He provides for his family. He's a good father. That means he provides parental investment. So generally, that is what women mean when they say a real man, but they don't look at what the man gets. There are many men who do that, and what they get is disrespect, lack of appreciation, and they get cuckolded. You know, cuckolded basically means your wife gets pregnant and has children, but those children are not yours. Yeah. Yeah, so they expect that a real man, they'll tell you, is a man who takes care of other men's children, even if they are not his, because he steps up. He believes that being a dad is more important than me being the biological father. They'll tell you that's what a real man is. So that's why I say that when it comes to what a definition of a real man is, it's something that is normally, it's a feminized ideology. Yeah.
It's amorphous.
Yeah.
It's a tool of
it's not amorphous, but it's something that serves the feminine imperative. It has got nothing to do with men. Yeah.
Is it a tool of manipulation?
It's a tool of manipulation, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Silas. Hapo umekubaliana na haraka sana.
Yeah, it is like because you know what you'd consider like a real man. I think Jacob is what they normally talk about better backs. Yes, better backs. Like better men, like Valentine's up tomorrow. There are men who will go out of their way, you know, to buy those gifts, to treat women in a good way, you know, and all that. Women don't care about those things. Okay. Yeah, they only care about them when they need them. But on a given day, they don't really care about like real men. Real men, sometimes they tend to be boring and they don't have that excitement because real men, you want an orderly life and all that, but most modern women are not into that. They're into that adrenaline rush consistently, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that can only be provided by like the bad boys, yeah.
So the real men are the bad boys?
Yeah. No.
Oh, the Simpsons.
No. What happens is, and this is something maybe we'll discuss. Yeah. If you listen to women to tell you what a real man is, you'll really lose it. Because they'll tell you what serves them, but they will leave the other side of hypergamy, what they want. Okay. Because today, of course, we'll dig into hypergamy.
Of course, yes, again.
But it's not a straight jacket. It's not just one way. It's dualistic. Mm-hmm. So they're only telling you one side. But the side that they like, the side that arouses them, they don't tell you about it. Uh-huh. They tell you about the side that they are attracted to, or that they want to be attracted. Yes, okay. The side that serves them. But the side that arouses them, they don't tell you because it's almost like a taboo. But that is what excites them. So they don't talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I hope you got your answer right there, Moses Gitao. You got your answer right there. Kod King anasema very few women nowadays don't cook. serve or have an idea of what is being ate on daily basis. I think maybe he meant they don't do it. No, they do it. DT Thomas, born, raised, and unplugged. All right, this is where you get unplugged. We get to have conversations about men. Kabon Sarah is here. Kabon Sarah, we welcome you because you helped the boy child. She's a good advocate of the boy child. Another conversation that has been coming up as well that we had in the group, of course, that should be within the day is the issues of men and side B's and gayism.
I thought we covered that last time. Huh? I thought we covered that last time.
It came up again. I thought I saw something.
I'm saying like the other weekend with the levy and all that, and it's always a very
sensitive story.
Yeah, it's not one of the best things that you can just discuss. But I saw Kibe talk about the men who are currently in the limelight in Kenya and the kind of influence they have on young boys. We don't have like real men who can inspire young boys, especially in the on social media, in the mainstream media. You know, there are these clowns who are running around cross-dressing. They've been given that platform, and that also now, like Kibe said, that if those people happened 20 years ago, we'd have lost our whole generation. Okay. So we want to be very mindful that what are our young boys watching, you know, because there is a certain archetype of masculinity that shouldn't be encouraged, you know. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nelson here. Nelson on need to be saying, Nelson Mandela, stepfathers are the most disrespected beings. Is it?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Most of the time.
How are they disrespected?
What happens with being a stepfather is that you will find that you're expected to have responsibility, take responsibility for the children, the children of the man, the deadbeat in quotes. Okay? You're supposed to take responsibility. But when it comes to disciplining them, you'll be told, no, you're not their father. So it's responsibility without authority. And that is the very definition of slavery. So that's one of the challenges that stepfathers have. And in case, you always know as a stepfather, you are never the first choice. So in case the first choice goes and makes amends, maybe he was a drunkard or he was a jobless guy and he was left. And now he's got a good job. He's gotten himself cleaned up. When he comes back, you're going to be pushed aside. So stepfathers go through all those kinds of challenges.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go in straight to the issues. The topic of the day, of course, you're speaking about hypergamy and also you talk about the burden of performance. It's about the burden of performance is a continuation on conversation that we had last week. And also we pick it up again, hypergamy and the burden of performance. First of all, I think we start by defining hypergamy. I'll start with you, Silas. How do you help us understand what hypergamy is?
Hypergamy basically is the, women naturally want to mate with the men at the top. Okay. And for good reasons, they carry the womb and they want a man who can provide, who can protect them and all that. So naturally women have always dated upwards. And that aspect of trying to date upwards is, in summary, that's what hypergamy is all about. And it's not like for the wrong reasons. Because any woman would want the best for herself and for her children. So that's like the traditional definition of hypergamy. But now we've entered into a new dispensation where, Kitambo, I can say like men owned the means of production. And now women came in, you went into a man's life. But now we have like more or less the same playing field, whereby now women have still retained their hypergamy. So even if she has her own money, she still wants to date upwards. And now there are so few men at the top that they can date. So let's say like if you're a woman and you have a degree and you have a job, you're working, let's say at a media organization or let's like one of the top telcos, ordinarily you can date maybe a colleague or someone senior up in the ranks, but there are so few men at the top. So that's why now hypergamy becomes a problematic thing because we are more or less at the same, we are more or less equal, but still they want more. So that's why you see like women are never satisfied with the men that were there presently. I don't know if Jacob can say about this.
Yeah.
Jacob.
So hypergamy basically is it's a female mating strategy or sexual strategy. And as Silas has said, what it involves is that the main feature of hypergamy is a woman always wants to either get married to or have sex with a man who is of higher status than her. So it's either higher status, higher education, more wealth, and so on and so forth. So the word is borrowed from anthropology or sociology, because in the Indian societies where you had the castes, where there are people who had higher levels of respect or existence in the society, and they observed it first in the Indian community that the women wanted to marry outside or higher above their castes. So hypergamy is a very important thing for men to understand, because I've actually seen it hit men that I know of, and it has ended. It has led to the end of their marriages. The way hypergamy actually manifests itself nowadays is, the first thing men must know is that all women are hypergamous. There's no woman who is not hypergamous. There will be a few exceptions where you find a woman dating or marrying downwards, but there are very few. Majority are hypergamous. Now, what does this mean? This means that if you met your wife maybe in the workplace and you're maybe the same level at work, and she gets a promotion and you remain behind. If this promotion continues, maybe she gets another one, or even she just gets one, that introduces instability in the marriage, because now she has more earning potential, she has more, her muscle power in terms of cash increases. So that makes it difficult for you to have authority in that particular home. I've seen cases where that happens, and many times a few years down the line you find that the couple have divorced. It also happens in another way. You can find a situation where you're married, you have fairly the same level, especially people who marry, and that's why also Silas mentioned last week, you need to marry when you're ready. Sometimes when men marry very early, you marry when you're in the same level as a woman. Like you're 25 and she's 24. In terms of accomplishments in life, you are almost the same. The challenge is a number of men settle. So you find you've settled, maybe you both are graduates, but she goes for a master's degree. Okay? She goes for a master's degree, she gets a certificate, a higher national diploma or a postgraduate diploma, and you remaining with that same degree of yours, you're just watching football, going to the pub and coming back home. That again causes instability. Many women leave such marriages because she feels that you're cheating her. She feels cheated. She feels she can get a better man than you. She feels that she's taken up the burden of performance, while you should be the one who is taking up the burden of performance. So again, hypergamy will see manifest itself in such a situation where a woman feels that now she's gone higher than the husband. So that is still hypergamy. Hypergamy can still also be, right now, especially with the career women, if she goes to the workplace, she is able, because the thing about hypergamy is it's like a subroutine or a software that is always working and asking her, is this the best man I can get? So she will look at the men around in the workplace and she wonders, did I marry the right man? And even in social media actually has made hypergamy, now we call it hypergamy on steroids. Because if you're a married man and your wife has an Instagram account and you're probably driving a premium, okay, which you're sharing with her, and the people are liking her photos are driving Range Rovers and Prados and so on, she starts wondering, did I make the right choice? And that also brings a lot of instability in the marriage, because hypergamy always ensures that the woman gets the best man available to her. So if she feels these other men are available to her and they're better than you, that also causes instability in a relationship. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how does it, then as men, how do you manage it? Because what you're saying is women are constantly seeking higher grounds in terms of relationships and all that. So what does that mean for a man? So does that also mean that as a man you should not settle?
Exactly. What it means for a man, and I think this is something men need to realize, because some men, when the first time they get this, they say, now, what does this mean? When are we going to rest? You see, biologically, we must remember that when women are born, they are born with a fixed number of eggs. And these eggs continue being depleted until she hits menopause. On the other hand, men are born without sperms. We start making sperms at puberty, and we make them our entire lifetime until we die. So even in terms of, from a biological perspective, your biology assumes that as a man you're always productive. So men must always make sure that they remain productive. You have to take care of your health. You have to always have, that's why it's important to have your purpose, not just your job. Because some people, in the past, people used to have jobs, then you retire and you go to the village to take care of cows. Nowadays, even your wife has a job. Okay, by that time you are retiring, she probably has all these small businesses they have started with their friends in the chamas. They're running businesses in town. They have rental properties and so on. She's very busy. There is no time for retiring to go and look after goats in the village. So as a man, you must have a purpose which you must be committed to your entire life. That purpose that you have is what is going to create prospects that can make your wife excited and that will quiet her hypergamous doubt. But if she sees that you're just settled like a block of wood, then it's going to create a lot of disturbance.
But the question is, Silas, why is that burden on men? Because if it's about good things and quality, then we all want them. Why is it the burden of, the burden of performance or the burden of hypergamy or doing things right is on men?
I think before even going to the burden of performance, we need also to understand hypergamy from the lifestyle aspect of it. Women are constantly improving themselves, especially if you're looking at the modern corporate woman. You look the way she's taking care of her skin. You go to the gym by the day, it's women who are there, yeah?
Yes.
Like women constantly are trying to improve themselves, and the aim of that is to try and bag the highest ranking man she can get. And as a man, the kind of lifestyle that you introduce, maybe let's say your woman or your wife too, she expects that, and you have to keep on improving. There's a joke that Chris Rock made in 1996, is that women don't go back on lifestyle. So if you married a mkanzia Ngong Road, you won't tell her ati kumekuwa kubaya wacha turudi nini. She'll probably tell you, I'll remain atangangana from here, unless she really does not have an option. So in that regard, like Jacob is saying then, if you've chosen that life, then you have to be constantly alert. Because there's something I wrote in one of my memos about men who take their wives abroad. You find that for men, our ambition, for example, we tend to settle, like utafika hapo 36. If you're a high school teacher, your ambition probably maybe you want to be a deputy high school teacher and then maybe a principal and you die, But for women, as long as the door is open and there are opportunities, they'll constantly keep on, wanting the best for themselves. So like men who take, for example, women abroad, she becomes a nurse and she goes crazy, she's working hard every day. And other man, maybe you are like, maybe the little that you've made, you have maybe an apartment in Nairobi and you've built at home, you feel like that's enough. Now you can just do the normal job. It doesn't work that way. So when you settle, then now you start to disgust her. Now she wants to get another man who's better than you. So that aspect of lifestyle is also something that men should be keen on. What you introduce your wife to, you have to maintain it or give her better.
Okay. Talk about the story, the joke that you're saying Chris Rock made. There's a story I read somewhere that, times as man, you're in Nairobi, you're paying rent, so things go bad. So you're behind on your rent, yes, landlord ameleta shida. So landlord comes and says, okay, I can see it has become very impossible for you to pay your rent arrears or to keep up with your rent. You'll have to leave. But kwa sababu ya watoto, bibi na watoto wanaweza baki mahali hapa, they can stay around. Wewe mzee, unaweza enda ujipange. Ile siku uko tayari, you come, tumaliza maneno. So the guy goes home, calls the mama, sasa nimekuwa na landlord, ameleta shida sana. Na amesema we need to move out. But he's lenient, he's saying you guys can remain with the kids. As you go and fix yourself, maybe I need to go and find something cheap. Maybe I move to a slum somewhere, a low-cost area. Maybe at least I get a house of 1,500 or 1,000 shillings as you're trying to get things back to normal. Yeah. So mama tells him, it's true, wewe ni sawa tu, unaweza enda, we'll be coming to visit. Tunakuja kutembelea. Haja watoto kwa sababu watoto wamezoea hapa. Let's remain. Don't worry. We'll be coming to visit you. Nothing will happen to you. Nothing bad will happen to you. What are the chances that if things went haywire today, the woman that you have in your house will stick with you?
90% anytime things go south, like if a man loses a job today, in less than 6 months, he'll either be kicked out unless he loses a job and gets another one immediately, or he gets his hustle going. Okay. But if you lose your job and you're staying at home and trying to apply for jobs, women are not very patient. I don't know, my estimate is almost 90% of men who lose their job and they don't get another one as soon as possible, they'll end up getting divorced. And really women say stuff like, it's because how the man gives up, how he conducts himself, how he feels insecure. That's never the case. She'll create a very hostile environment in the house. So even for a man, you can't even think straight. It becomes extremely very unhealthy. And the leading cause of divorce is anytime a woman starts to earn more than the man. Like divorce is already, like she's already about to file divorce. Always.
It's coming.
And that's not even about Kenya. There's a BBC report in Sweden. It was looking at Sweden, why like those women in like big careers are never married. And the statistic was like, as long as a woman is earning more than a man, that marriage is in peril most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to end.
It's going to end. Yeah. Because however much a woman is at the top, as Jacob said, all of them are hypergamous. So as a man, you must be adding some real value to a life, or you are out earning. Like Bill Clinton and Hillary, or Obama and Michelle, as long as you're playing at that level, that's what happens.
Lakini kama ufike hapo achana naye.
Kama ufike hapo, then now she'd rather be alone then and try to service her life in other ways, but not within marriage. Yeah.
Jacob, what are the chances that a random man out there, or men who are watching us this evening, what are the chances that the women that they have in their lives, if things went south today, what are the chances that those women will stick with them through?
Yeah, so I think the question you're asking is really critical. And as Silas has said, the chances are not very good. But there are also a few exceptions. And that's why we talk about genuine burning desire. This is why we discourage men from using money to seduce a woman. When you use money to get a woman, when you lose that money, you're also going to lose her. That is what happens. So most guys, because of what we call blue pill conditioning, which is how we grew up watching Hollywood and rap music and blue and these love songs and so on. You get the idea that when you use money on a woman, you spend lavishly on her, then she's going to love you. So the unfortunate thing is that many relationships or marriages, that is a foundation. It's a foundation where the man is actually seducing the woman using money. If that is what your marriage is, then of course, when you lose your money, you're also going to lose the woman. But if you have a woman who is with you because of genuine burning desire, you may be able to survive it. But the only way also to make sure that you can survive that catastrophe is by doing what we said earlier, the burden of performance. You must embrace it as a man. You should not be comfortable because you have one source of income. You should have streams of income. You're supposed to be creative. You're supposed to be intelligent. You're supposed to be a problem solver. It means that your value should go beyond just provisioning. Okay? And that's why you tell guys you need to have that burden of you need to take up the burden of performance. Many guys, as much as they're going to complain that their wives left them because they lost a job, you'll find outside of the job, this guy is not taking care of himself. Okay? He's out of shape. He cannot even fix a light bulb. He can't do anything because even him, he relies on money. He doesn't even know how to use a screwdriver. He is not able to help this woman to solve problems like when the kid is acting up or is having an attitude. He has not taken his time to understand what parenting is, what it involves. So this guy, you find outside of the money he dishes out, he has no value. So that's why men need to really understand the burden of performance. You need to be able to take it so that even if you lose one aspect of your value, then you still have other areas where your value can actually be appreciated.
And are men also allowed to to be hypergamous also, to demand also quality. Because if you're saying that women demand quality in men. They want you, there's a frame that they want you to be in. There's a performance that they expect from you. They demand quality from a man. And they don't settle if you don't give them that quality. Is it not also okay for men? Why is it that there's a problem when also men make the same demands out of women?
That's a good question. You see, the thing is, women are beauty objects and men are success objects.
Okay.
So what this means is that when a woman is young and beautiful, men don't care about her performance in terms of whether she's educated or whether she has a good job. Because the performance metrics for women is about her youthfulness and her beauty. Because what a man wants from a woman is reproduction. You want children. You want to expand your bloodline or legacy. And you also want someone who can cooperate with you, help you to raise these children. Okay. That is what men look for. That's why we say women are beauty objects. But men are success objects. Remember, women as beauty objects, they also have a clock. Their clock, I think women have a window of about 12 to 15 years when they can actually be very, very useful and help a man to expand his community or his legacy. Beyond that, then now their value really declines rapidly. So unlike that, a man over the course of his life, he can continually increase his value in terms of the money he's bringing in and so on. And a man even at 50, like Njonjo married at 50 and even saw his grandchildren. I think Jomo Kenyatta got Mama Ngina at 58. Yes. So for men, it's not about your biology, it's about your performance.
Okay.
Yes. It's about your performance. So that's why men are not, you cannot talk about hypergamy when it comes to men. Because men don't look for money in women. Of course, you have men who have failed, who also want women to keep them. But in general, men look for beauty in women, beauty and youthfulness. Yeah.
But then, Silas, so what should men also demand in equal measure? Because if women are making demands and this is what they want, what can also men demand in equal measure? In essence, what should a man demand in terms of quality from a man?
Most of the time,
or we should just settle for anything.
Most of the time, what men want is femininity, cooperation, or what sometimes people call submission, which again is very difficult nowadays to come by. But if as a man, you're doing your part, then you have every right to demand some level of accountability, some level of responsibility from women. But what you find is that most men who provide, most men who are doing their part, they're not very big on holding their women accountable. So you'll find, I saw was it this rapper called DNA, saying that his baby mama was forcing him to pay school fees, 100,000,
Yes.
And that set him back. But you see, most of the time when such a thing happens, DNA was not able to go and tell this woman that, okay, I'm going to provide, but this is the much that I can afford. Because it's very easy for a woman to manipulate you or to twist you into thinking that if you're not doing this, then you're not doing the right thing. So as the man, you have to have your own standards. Like, what do you expect from this woman if you are meeting your quota of responsibilities, which is something that most men fail. So if you want maybe to be a homemaker, if you want to be someone like who has to serve you the meals, who has to prepare your laundry, all those things, you have sort of like to demand. But before you can demand, you must ensure that you've met your part of your responsibilities. Yeah, but there are those men who are lucky that women just submit and do these things naturally. But for some, it's always very transactional. And if it's transactional, then it means that you're living dangerously. It's good if from the word go, you meet someone that you complement each other. So that, like in marriage, you need a lot of cooperation and support. Because a woman can really bring the best out of you, or she can bring you down, or she can kill your potential. So you want a woman who's helping you build your potential more, not one who's trying to put you down, who's trying to tell you that you're not enough. Because most men also, again, go through that phase where whatever they're doing, if maybe they're living in South Sea, we shouldn't be living here. If they're driving this car, we shouldn't be driving a Premio. And for them, rather than having that uncomfortable conversation with the woman, they try to work harder. Sometimes they get into debt to try to appeal to this woman's hypergamy, which ends up hurting them. Yeah.
All right. So we should also, Nelson Mandela is saying, This is what men demand from women: cooperation, purity, youth, and femininity are all men seek in a woman. Okay. What else? What is that you would be seeking from a woman? Most as a man should also go beyond the beauty of the woman. What men should be looking for is the aged, submissive, and unfucked woman. Why? Okay. Yes, Robert Kiyosaki Unplugged at 75 years old. All right, interesting. The issues of that DNA also as well raised. I think it's very integral, because I also seeing a lot of satire videos. I saw there's a satire videos going on. When a baby mama is broke, and how she would use the baby to manipulate and all that. But let's look at the key thing. That a man would be under pressure, would live out of his own means and collapse because there's someone else who is making such demands on the issues of DNA. I don't know if you watched the video, Jacob.
Yes, I did.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he was right. He was on point. But what normally happens with men is that we become whipped by the box. Once you start getting it on a regular basis, then you lose your spine and you start doing everything that the woman demands. You cannot stand up. You have no backbone. So, and that's why it's important for men to also listen to these kinds of talks, because many men, they don't process. They act out of their instincts. Because your instinct is you want to keep getting that sex because it's the only way of guaranteeing paternity for you. That's how we are hardwired. But if you are not aware of how your instincts are working, the mechanics of your instincts and feelings, then you'll end up making mistakes. So men need to understand that they need to make sound financial decisions. And many times, of course, with women, image is more important than the future. We say women live in the present. So she may push you into spending so much so that you look good in the eyes of her friends. But in the end, you burn up everything that your future savings. And you'll find that in future, you actually have nothing saved for yourself. So that is very, very important. And also, in many cases, even when you find that a man has nothing in form of a safety net, the woman is always able to tell the children, the way the dad was not very responsible. And the children will listen to her. They will not know the full story, that the reason you actually broke in your old age is because you spent all the money on them and because it's the mother who pushed you. Them, they'll be told about, how you used to cheat and abuse her and so on. And they'll tend to take care of the mother and not you. So normally the cycle that actually plays out is the woman and the kids depend on you when you're in your productive years. And now when your energy wanes and you're retiring, she now shifts the burden of provision into the kids, but you remain, you're abandoned. So guys need to know how these cycles play out and make sure that you don't spend everything. And when you're spending also, look at value. Sometimes it's just prestige. You can be having kids going to a very expensive school that is prestigious, but in terms of the real education they're getting, it's not much. Maybe they're spending a lot of money going to trips in Egypt and in the UK and so on. But in terms of the classroom education that they're getting, it's not much. Yeah.
All right. So don't be under pressure to conform. That's what you're saying in short. Be reasonable. Yes, the child has to go to school. But if it is you bearing the cost, then you have to reach a consensus and speak. Na kama unaona pia ni lakini si pia if you are a woman and you have a child, si mtoto ni wetu wote. Kama unaona anaenda hiyo shule unaweza lipa pia.
Absolutely, and I think that's what Silas has mentioned. Maybe I just need to emphasize on that. When you're marrying, it's not just about beauty, as I mentioned. Of course, you used to look at beauty and youth, you look at loyalty, you look at her background. Because when you're evaluating a woman, when you're vetting a woman, her past is the most important thing, not her future. Because the future, it is you to provide. But her, it's her to give you her past. So you look at her past. And also it's important to marry a woman also at your level as much as possible. You don't go and get a very high education and exposure. Then you marry someone who is illiterate and who is not exposed. Then the value addition is going to be very low. And in many cases, such a marriage ends up becoming a hustle. Not a hustle in the sense that it's an activity she's getting into to make money, not to serve your interests. Okay? So you'll find maybe she gets married. She wants you to build her parents a home. She wants you to educate her brothers and sisters. and then eventually you get divorced and she gets alimony. So you see that also happens to a lot of men. So once you've worked yourself up to a certain level, it's also important to marry a woman who also brings some value, not just her femininity alone. She needs to be able to bring some value. She needs to be able to guide your kids and to be able to shape them in a manner that is in alignment with the kind of person that you are. So that if you want them to be future CEOs or future entrepreneurs, then she actually has the capacity to impart some of these qualities on them.
Okay. Your comments, Silas?
Cure for hypergamy gone wrong, because what we're dealing with right now is hypergamy has gone like rogue completely. Okay. So the only cure for that is always to marry at your level. So that in the event things don't work out, then you don't go like what I can call like on a loss. When you're marrying at your level, and I like what the new law says that nowadays if you divorce, you can only walk out with what you came into with the marriage. Because in the past it's been like you can marry so low, marry down, like you're marrying down, and then she comes into your life, and then in the end when you're parting ways, she'll live with a good chunk of what you have. So the cure for like if you don't want to be on the wrong end of bad hypergamy, then it's always best to marry at your level.
Okay, marry at your level. Yeah. What happens when a man marries up?
When a man marries up, it can happen under like maybe 2 or 3 circumstances. Either the woman has money and she has a low self-esteem, so any man who comes along and can validate her emotions, that goes in. Or a woman is old enough, like now she's too old, like she's post-wall, and her choices now are limited. Then now the only chance now is to marry down, because ordinarily under the standard room temperature, we call it in chemistry, a woman will always look upwards. So when a man marries up, it rarely works. Down the line, the woman will get dissatisfied unless you marry up and then you work hard and also you start playing at a league. But if you are marrying up, and those even men who marry into rich families, by the way, if you are a poor man and you marry into a rich family, you always struggle to fit into such a family, because the family will always feel like this guy in Kama is after like using our daughter wrongly, and that's why the rich like marrying into each other's family, So like I always tell men, I don't know, like you shouldn't really marry up. It rarely works that way. Yeah.
So it's not like they are in the Nigerian movies.
Actually, I wrote about this last week. Women also have what we call post-nat clarity. Okay. So what happens, the game that you're playing with her horizontally can be so good that a woman can decide to ignore your burden of performance. But it doesn't take long before she gets a post-nat clarity and she decides this guy outside the bed is actually adding no value to my life. And that's how she kicks you out. I think it has even happened here. You know about the case. We have a very famous gym instructor, got a socialite. 2 kids later, the guy was thrown out. And now, what the women call him is, they call you a sperm donor. So in all cases, when a woman feels that she's the one taking up the burden of performance, she feels resentment towards the man. She suffers what we call the buyer's remorse. So this resentment now is what is expressed as disrespect, as contempt, and actually it ends up calcifying in form of a breakup. So yes, men can marry upwards, but it comes with a lot of challenges. And this is one reason why, going back actually to hypergamy, you find a guy, let's say he's a policeman, okay? He meets this girl who is maybe she's a Form 4 dropout or she just cleared 4th form. And she's from a poor family. This guy takes a loan, pays for her school fees. You see, when she's going to school, she's building her value. She's taking up the burden of performance. You are earning a salary, paying off this loan. Eventually, when she graduates, her value has gone higher than yours. She's not going to marry you. And that's why you find these unfortunate cases where a man is killing a girl because after graduation, she's telling him, now you're not my type. So men need to understand that even when it comes to, because it's also an issue that bothers most men, should I get my wife a job? Should I take my wife to school? Take her to school, but also ask yourself, what are you doing to increase your value? Because if you're taking her to school and you're not going to school, you're going to suffer. You're the one who's going to suffer. Only take her to school if you're also going to school. Because a woman is not going to work hard to increase her earning power and you are remaining the same. She's going to feel cheated. Yeah.
So now brings up also another question that has always come up: men and investing in women and girlfriend. Many of them, they say, I took my girlfriend to college. Oh, nimefanyia. One day she turns around and says, man, I have to go. And actually, I never asked for that. Should men invest in potentials or in potential women? Silas?
Yeah, they should, by all means, because we say that when you're investing in your wife, or talking about wife,
Potential.
Girlfriend, or even that potential, you're looking at the future, maybe that you're not there. You also want someone who can take care of your children.
Okay.
But now the danger comes in, and this is a very big risk that men face. The women that we call economic refugees. So you're a man, you're 30, you have your first job, you're earning well. So there's this woman who's 25, jobless and really suffering. And weirdly enough, for women, if it means to pretend to be liking you so that you can provide for her to get what she wants at that given time, she can do that. So you're 30 and you meet a woman, she's 25, and you invest in that potential. She's basically an economic refugee. So she comes to you and you'll get her a job, you'll take her through college and all that. Once she'll get her own value and her own money, she'll turn around and say, this is not my type, and she'll leave. So if you're investing on a woman, you really have to judge her intentions. You have to judge her good nature, like who she like. And you have to be well-tuned and self-aware enough to know that is she an economic refugee. And there are so many ways that you can tell that this is an economic refugee. Though women can really be good at pretending. And if a man, if you're like a simp and you're just excited because she gets to give you sex, you can be blinded easily. But if you're able to look past that aspect of her being an economic refugee, it's good just to invest. It's a risky thing. Earlier on we said like you should marry at your level, but if you meet someone and maybe you feel like you can upgrade her, you can, but just know that whatever you're doing is charity. In the event that she turns on you, take the hell and carry on.
I normally take the view that if you're a man doing that, what you're doing, you should regard it as charity. Okay. It will be a mistake to feel or to think that there should be some reciprocity or reciprocation that is going to come from that. In 1948, Robert Briffault, an anthropologist, he came up with what we call Briffault's law. And the first law in Briffault's law is that past benefits that are provided by the male have no future value. So if there's anything that you've done for a woman in the past, it does not determine how your future relationship is going to be. That is how Briffault put it. And also part of it is the aspect of understanding that women live in the present. It's the reason for this is not that women are bad, but we have evolved in a situation where women were forced to be able to make very quick adaptations because men died either in war or they went for hunting trips and the men never came back and so on. So women realized that the only way they could survive is by moving on. And also that example you gave of the landlord, there is something we call the war bride dynamic, which you had mentioned earlier. And this was seen in all major wars, Vietnam War, Second World War, and so on, where we had an occupying army. And when the army came and killed the men in that land where they had occupied, the women married these people who killed their husbands. Wow. So that is what we call the war bride dynamics. And if you Google, you'll find that like in the Vietnam War, hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese women traveled back to the US with American soldiers because they fell in love with them. But these same American soldiers, they came to kill the Vietnamese men who are either their husbands or their brothers. So that is called the war bride dynamic. And not so good. The Kipsigis and the Kisses. Yes. I think you've heard the story too. Yes. When the Kipsigis men were trapped in a valley in Kisii, this is like in the late 1800s, they were killed, and then Kisii men out to marry the Kipsigis women. And that's why now we have intermarried, like we are related like the Kipsigis and the Kisses. That's where now the relationship comes from.
Especially in Bomet, they say there's no pure
Bomet, Kipsigis. That's pretty much.
There's no pure Kipsigis.
I actually realized that my grandfather, like who married a sister to my paternal grandmother, was actually Kalenjin,
And it was just from that cycle. Yeah.
So men need to be aware of
women benefit from women are beneficiaries of destruction of men.
In many cases, you see, the women they're part of the spoils. Even if you read the Bible, you have God commanding people in the Old Testament to kill all the men, but take the women, especially the virgins. If you have women who have children, you can also kill them. But the ones who are virgins, take them, or who have no
Keep
children.
them for yourselves.
Yeah, so traditionally, women are seen as a mechanism for expanding your own communities and your own territories. And that's why we say eggs are expensive, and sperms are not very, very useful. Sperms are cheap, eggs are expensive. Because also eggs are only available within a limited time. But sperms are available throughout the lifetime of a man. So if you get a young woman, this traditionally where people knew that the strength of a community lied in numbers, a woman was seen as a very important asset. Yeah.
There's also the issue, there's something we were discussing earlier about the different cycles of men, the inverse cycle of men. That when in earlier stages of a man, he's valueless. And he's more likely to be more focused on the things that affect him. Maybe scaling himself up, maybe education, trying to work hard and make some money. On the opposite, that is when the women are having their best time. And these people meet again at a later time, when this other one is done with all the crazy things, maybe messed up, several relationships, done this and that, and the man is now beginning to live. And this one expects to set the standards of the relationship for this chap who is just beginning life. Ameanza kujua kumbe kuna sherehe, he can afford some whiskey, he can afford a trip or a holiday. But the woman has been doing life, probably maybe in an hypergamy situation where she is with a better man. And she's enjoying their life and all that. Now you find this guy in his mid-30s, maybe 35, there's something going up, just starting off on life. And this chick who are age mates now wants to set the rules of the game. How do you bring out the balance in this? And what advice do you give to men? Silas?
Just always go for the best. When you've done your work, you're in your 30s and you can afford to go for the 10s, the 9s, and the 8s. Just go for them and don't let someone who's done a life to set standards for you. As a man, you have to set your own standards. Because let's face it, I've seen girls. Yesterday I was looking at the status of some girls that I know they are in their early 20s. They're having a proper good time in Mombasa. Most obviously, it's being funded by men and all that. So this is a woman, they also have a very short period where they're supposed to enjoy that. And the tragedy is that when a woman is at her peak sex, whatever, SMV, the sexual market value, she's at her most naive and most foolish. So even the choices she'll be making then are not like the best. So for a man, you just have to be patient. And the harder you work on yourself, the more choices you'll have at your disposal when you're older. You'll be able now to pick the best that you want, because when you're young, you don't have the options. So I see sometimes we argue with women when they hear that we're dating younger women. They try to call us pedophiles. But if a woman is of legal age, 18 and above, there's no such a thing to say like, the woman she's not well developed in the brain and all that. If that's what you want, of course, there are disadvantages that come with it. You should actually go for it. You shouldn't let women who have done their time manipulate or blackmail you into dating them. Yeah, and I saw by the way I live in Kitengela, and Kitengela is a very good place to have an anthropological study. I'll see women in their 30s going out with men in their 50s, 60s, and they're okay with it. But as a man, I can't go out with a woman who's in her 50s or 60s unless maybe I'm some loser gold digger and all that. So if you're in your 30s, you want to go out with a woman in her 20s, because you can actually you get along more with a woman who's younger than you, because it's easier for her to submit to your frame. But if like I'm 36 and I'm trying to go out with a woman who's 36, you're basically two men in a relationship, because she knows everything, she's been there, done, and I'm sure. But it's easier if I get someone who's maybe 25, 26. You can actually have a very healthy relationship now. And it's not because the woman at 25 is foolish or young or naive. We're all the same. Like, I've actually met more women in their 20s who are more sensible than even women in their 30s. So it's a perfect case of age is just a number in this case now. Yeah. I don't know about Jacob.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think that is true. And we talk about the sexual maturation of women. Women in their early 20s up to 27 is what we normally call the party years or the whole phase. And that's the time, even if you look at the campus women, you'll find the Mercedes for the politicians are parked outside there. They've come to pick them. Mm-hmm. So women at that time are living their life. But the men at that time, they are broke. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, yeah. They inabidi wati, they don't have anything. So you'll find this same woman, once these politicians have run through them and so on, and now you have a good job, you are now 35, she's also probably 35, then now she wants to have a relationship with you when she's realized that a window is closing or has closed, and now that is when now you are just picking up. You're actually now reaching your peak, but her she's on the decline. So it's very important also, as I said, I agree with that completely. Get a younger woman who will actually appreciate the value. Because a woman who is at that age, if you're going to take her somewhere, maybe you've taken her to, let's say, Kempinski. Maybe these guys used to take her to Kempinski every evening. She's not even going to be.
So it's not news.
Yeah, it's not news. Get a 25-year-old woman or a 24-year-old, take her to Kempinski. She'll be telling all her girlfriends about the time she has had. So getting this woman who is much older, she has actually, although you are the same age, her lived experience it actually outstrips yours by far, because she was being exposed to all these experiences by men who have actually achieved it more than you. So that is very, very important. I wanted to mention something about hypergamy. Hypergamy also, the way it manifests itself, it also appears in a woman's ovulatory cycle. The female ovulatory cycle is about 28 days. So there's the first phase where she's having her menses, then she ovulates on the 14th day, and then the second phase. Now, this first phase, just when she's approaching ovulation, is what we call the arousal phase. That is the time she's looking for an alpha. In most cases where the woman is having a problem in her relationship, that's the time she is most likely to cheat. And even men who get cuckolded, that is the time this woman is likely to get this alpha man. We call it, some people also call it the alpha phase. That is the time this woman will want to go out. Among rats, for example, that have been studied in the lab, female rats are very restless at that time. They cannot sit still because they want to look for an alpha male. So you'll see this in women. They will not want to stay at home. They want to go out. They want to wear short dresses, big bangles, very bright clothes, so that they can actually get the attention of men. At that time also, these women, their sense of smell is very, very high, and so on. Then you have the second part where now this part, the estrogen is very high. The second part, progesterone, is very high. We now call it the attraction phase. The arousal phase, the attraction phase. Attraction phase now is when now she wants the beta males. The guy who is a very calm guy who goes to work and comes back home. The beta male who can be a good father and a provisioner. Because the way men are, most men who are alpha, that means they are good looking, they are tall, they have money. They also have a lot of women. And because of that, they cannot be loyal to one woman. And most alphas, therefore, we say they have what we call offspring abandonment. They'll make you pregnant, but they're not going to be there to raise the child. So women will get these children of alphas, and then they get the beta males to raise them. So even within a month, a woman's hypergamy actually plays out in the sense that she entertains two different kinds of men to serve her own needs. And the same way, even in her 20s, she looks for the alphas. When she reaches her 30s, when she's hitting the wall, she looks for the betas. So you'll find now, maybe in her 30s, she played so hard in her 20s, she even got a child. Then in her 30s, now she looks for a stepfather, the beta male, to become the provisioner and the stepfather. So that's how hypergamy plays out. It's both monthly and even in terms of the long term.
The lifespan.
Yes.
Now, in the interest of definition, maybe you can help the gentleman understand who is a beta male and who is an alpha male. Do you have another version?
The Sigma.
What is the symbol of the Simpson?
Sigmas, gamma men.
Can we break them down?
Yeah, there are very many. But what you normally say,
How do we define the most important?
The reason why we have all these gamma males and all these the sigmas, we normally say that there are only two classes. This is just now basically men who have been feminized, who are trying to complicate with different categories. We just have alphas and we have betas. Alphas are men who dominate, they conquer, they are strong. An alpha, let me give you the basic definition. An alpha is a man who lives life on his own terms. Okay? You can't tell him what to do. A beta male is someone who is told what to do. Women make rules for them. He's told come home by 8. He's told you need to raise these children. These are your children. An alpha doesn't care whether those children are his. He doesn't care. If he's walking away, he's going to walk away. That's the main difference between alphas and betas. Now, women are aroused by alphas. They like alphas. Most times, alphas, they have the V-taper. They are jacked guys. They are very confident, very assertive. And in many cases, they actually dominate. That means if it's sports, if it's business, they have money. Betas don't arouse women, but they attract women because women find security in them. So if you're a man who has money, but you're very soft and you can defer to a woman, that means that you don't want to upset her. Then you are a beta male. Beta males also, they are not aware of their own worth. So they tend to use money a lot. They are the men who will spend a lot of money and proposing to a woman, spending a lot of money on a wedding and so on. Those are beta male behaviors because this man feels that the way to get a woman is through giving her that what we call strategic pluralism. Throw everything you have at the woman and the woman will come to you. An alpha does the opposite. He doesn't give her anything, and so the woman feels that this guy has a higher value than her, and that is how she gets aroused.
Okay. Yeah. So what is yes, Silas?
Just briefly, there are more betas in the other than there are alphas.
80%.
Yeah, 80% of the men are basically
the betas. 80%.
Yes. And then if they have money, we call them high value simps. High value simps are these men you see doing these crazy weddings, crazy proposals, and for them the only game is money. And when they enter into a relationship, even with their money, even they can still cheat on them, That's how you know that you are a better. But also something to add on to that is hypergamy and monogamy. Most modern women, they are hypergamous, and their aim is to get that one high-value man and tie him down for that man to commit. But you see men at the top, they are not, they don't have any incentive to be faithful. There's an Obama here and Magoa there, but most men at the top don't play like that. Because they have so many women at their disposal, they don't have that incentive. And that's why you'll find alphas mostly, they don't who spread their seed more than even betas. And in every, generation, 10 or so % of men are voted out of the
gene pool.
Of the gene pool.
Yeah.
They cannot get laid, they cannot give birth, they cannot start children, because women are very selective in the way that they mate. So hypergamy really frustrates, for women who are very hypergamous, it really frustrates them because you are hypergamous, but maybe you're not a 10. Even if you are 10, even women, Halle Berry was cheated on, Beyonce has been cheated on, So it doesn't matter. For a man, if you're playing at that level, no man can tie you down or make you commit unless maybe you really want to commit to her. So that's something also that women struggle to deal with.
Yeah, this point is making it important because there's a lady who was asking me last week that she wants a high-value man. And Kevin Samuels used to make this very big point. Guys like, Martin Luther cheated on his wife, Muhammad Ali, Bill Clinton, and so on. So most high-value men, because they have so many women throwing themselves at them, they actually end up cheating. And normally we say that any man, because the sexual strategy of men is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. That's why men consume a lot of porn. So a man is just as valuable as his options or is as valuable as the opportunities that are presented to them. You see the challenge that Tiger Woods had. Tiger Woods, when he was playing golf, there are truckloads and busloads of women who are models coming to present themselves at him. So it became a big challenge. So many women also need to realize that when you're getting this high value man, and you know about some of our governors, the way they've been conducting themselves, when this man has status and they have money, you don't expect them to be faithful to you alone. That is a cost that comes with having a high value man. So even as much as sometimes when you are attending the funerals of these high value men, sometimes of course you don't hear any scandal, but it doesn't mean that there is no scandal. It is just something that comes with being an alpha male, because the biological imperative of a man is to spread his seeds. And an alpha is a man who has an opportunity to do exactly that.
And women want the genes from the man or the money. They can want both. You can be like a loser footballer with nothing, but that talent that you have also can confound you some alpha status. So a woman might want, as well, like a rapper like DMX didn't have much money, but he had, I don't know, so many children out there. Because even if he didn't have money, the woman is like, maybe my child can, I can squeeze some talent out of this guy. And that's something that R. Kelly used to sadly use it to the wrong, because these were mothers actually trying to hawk their children to R. Kelly so that R. Kelly can try and make them famous. So those are some of the drawbacks of hypergamy, because when you don't know when to stop, it can push you to do some really, really horrible things. Of course, you've had like how maybe some white men or some Nigerian men have used our women. So if women were not able to tame that instinct, like to know, to regulate it, it can take them to hell. Yeah.
But then again, what then again, because you've clearly defined the two different types of men, the alpha and the betas. But then it comes out that the alphas can be very difficult to hold up a family, hold up a relationship and build something. What are the dangers of being an alpha? Because it sounds attractive, sounds very nice, sounds good. You know, you're this bad boy, you're running from this end to that end, you are not in control, you're out of leash. But again, what are the dangers? What are the dangers of this? What are the chances that this alpha will wind up in a bad space? Because then it means you're not building anything along your way. You're running through things. So while it sounds very attractive, while this alpha sounds very attractive, sounds very nice, and like a movie thing, like a movie hero, what are the chances that these alphas can never hold up anything solid? And what are the chances that they also wind up in a bad space than they were in?
Yeah. You can start with jail. Most men in jail are basically alphas. Alphas who didn't have the kind of self-awareness. Yesterday, they say the South African rapper, AKA, was shot dead in Durban, and he died at the age of 35. Most men who live on the fast lane, because they have that too much testosterone in them, they can easily endanger their lives. In that maybe if they're rich, they can really squander their fortune on women. Because alphas also have that thing, like they live in the present. They don't really care about, because the world is literally at their feet, because maybe they have power, they have the money, they have the talent, So they some of them tend to make these very ephemeral decisions, You want to date maybe a slay queen from the club. You look around and you'll see like the hottest woman on TV, like a TV presenter, and you're like, I want that, And it's not like they constantly win in life. If you go to Chinua Achebe, there is book Art of God. There's a very good proverb that I normally use that says, many a time people have stood in the compound of a coward to point into the grave in the compound of a courageous man, a brave man, So that's what happens with for most alphas, who don't have that kind of self-awareness. They sometimes get high on their own supply. And they have this feeling of invincibility. But you've seen, if it's a politician, you've seen them lose their jobs. You've seen men who are in high-flying career, later on complaining in their 40s or 50s how they can't even raise a medical bill and all that. So that's what happens when you're an alpha, but you don't have that self-awareness. Know that you have to walk around with an handbrake on, or like the brakes, you have to press on them sometimes.
So is it possible to be a good alpha, even as you weigh in on that?
Absolutely.
Very clearly, then there are a lot of dangers on being an alpha.
No, absolutely. They're good. The line here is to have self-awareness, to understand that, okay, I have this talent, but this talent can only take me this far. To know, for example, to quit the stage. Look, people have argued whether Obama is an alpha or not. Like you can look around, there are men at the top like Denzel Washington who have really maintained a steady lifestyle. But that's because they knew their limitations. Like, for example, I'm an alpha, women are throwing themselves at me, but I don't have to sleep with all of them. That kind of awareness. If you're a footballer, you know that my talent, it is at 40, maybe you want to invest your money into good things. Maybe you want to have one woman and have a family and tend to that. And if you want to have maybe a side piece or something, you try to do them in a very disciplined way. You don't want to be like the man who's being caught up with scandals, the Ariel kind of stuff. Or you are very rich once and now you are bankrupt. You don't want to end up in such a situation.
Okay.
Jacob.
Jacob.
Yeah, so the thing is, if you are a man, you definitely want to be an alpha, and you should be an alpha. But I think Silas has answered that question well, because being better is much worse. And the thing about alphas is hot-headedness, particularly we see it among young people, particularly the rappers. They make up beef and they kill each other very early. You shouldn't be hot-headed, and then also understand that we're living in a generation where Me Too movement has actually destroyed the careers of so many men and their marriages. So many ladies today who you will interact with, especially if you are a man who has worked himself to the top, they could be approaching you not because they want you. Many times they want what you can give them, and there are also many cases where they just want to bring you down.
Mendy and those two footballers.
Yes. She can come just to bring you down for whatever reason. Or maybe she is coming for you, but she has some weird expectations. And then when she doesn't get them, it becomes a war. So that happens a lot. So as a man, be very self-aware and also know what is important. Because sometimes alpha males, because of having so much testosterone, they end up placing a premium on sex. Because of all these hormones and these women are presenting themselves. So that's why it's important to have a purpose, be very self-aware, know female nature, understand why this woman is coming to you, what does she want. You find some of these alphas, they're an alpha in the sense that they have conquered in life, they have risen to the top of their game, but they still have blue pill beliefs. You find this person, maybe he has a challenge at home, he goes and he picks a prostitute, and then he ends up deciding he wants to marry her, you know, and then it ends up actually ruining his life. So that is very, very important. As a man, have your purpose, dominate in your field, succeed, understand female nature, put yourself first, but also be very aware about what happens to alphas who lack self-awareness.
Be aware of your own
downfall.
downfall.
Can be very bad, yes.
So you always be aware of your own downfall.
Yeah, you can be the architect of your own downfall. Yeah.
So it's dangerous. Clearly, then it's very risky to be an alpha.
Okay. It is risky, but it's the only way.
Just understand that you are limited, and with all the privileges that you have comes a high sense of responsibility to yourself and to those around you. Yeah.
All right. Felix Omariba is here. He's asking, but Samido did not sleep with all of them. Ilikuwa bibi yake na Nyamo pekee. Si hivyo alpha hivi ama? Is Samido an alpha? Sorry to mention Samido.
No, he's not. Samido?
Yeah.
He's not. One quality of being an alpha is the ability to control, not really control, to manage your women in a better way. Okay. You can't have like the kind of chaos that is introduced in life. That's not a very good way to manage. Because you see, women bring chaos, and it's up to you as a man to regulate those chaos. So I think he's let, for example, the senator to sort of like destroy the kind of brand that he's building. And if he's not very keen, I saw Rigathi trying to warn him. He's not very keen, but that's how men go down. Because the idea is that you think that talent is, you'll always have it. Even as when writing on Facebook, in another 1 or 2 years, you'll not be there. There's always a younger...
The generation that doesn't understand.
The young giddy artists will be conquering the very soon, and you'll find that you are just faded and playing in those dingy clubs, and the money is gone, the fame is gone, and all you have is good memories. Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. He's a young man, I think, who has been caught in the moment, and if he doesn't change his way, he'll be a flash in the pan. Because there are new talents always coming up for the Mugidhis and so on. And he, as much as he has sort of dominated because he's risen to the top in his area of work, he needs to be able to understand what it means. An alpha puts himself first. He puts his career first. That means that we shouldn't be talking about anything about him except the music. But now we are talking about his women, the chaos that they bring into his life. That means he's losing control. People like Michael Jordan also had the same challenges, and he ended up even divorced. But what we know about him is a kind of great basketball that he played. And
a great businessman.
Yeah,
he's a billionaire. So even young men who are going to win, you must realize that when you conquer in a certain area, women will come to you. But an alpha is a man who knows how to manage that. You don't let it take you
take over whatever you're doing, or you don't let it manage you. Yeah.
You need to know when to
And
stop.
to be a good alpha also is to pick high quality women. Because there's these men at the top who really sleep with the women who make you question your sanity, you know. So you really have to go after high quality. By high quality, I mean is a woman who has something to lose. Is a woman who will always find out if you have a conflict, she'll do it. You'll solve it in a professional way. You don't want these hoodrats and ratchets running to the media, leaking your nudes and such kind of stuff. So you really have to get a woman who has something to lose. And like if you're at the top, you deserve the top. But I've seen men at the top who really make some really questionable choices. Yeah.
Women who make you question your sanity. All right. Okay, Felix, no, if she's not your wife, don't invest in her. Don't have a joint account. Ian Seme, Silas, umewaita economic refugees. Nelson Mandela, you're not a woman's parent to pay her school fees. Oh, okay. Eminex, Jeremiah Kioni is now a sweeper. No, Eminex, Leo nisiko, you are a low value man if you're not paying attention to conversations and being present in conversations. As earlier investor, invest in not only when she gives you your fourth child and above. Okay. And so Mandela, men should not pay school fees for any woman if her parents do not take her to school. That's a problem. Felix, femininity and respect is what we should demand from women. Okay. Mato Kings anasema watching asante sana. Kaka Devi, on alphas, risk and responsibilities to whom much is given, much will be expected. Mugonjeru nyangareo sikia maneno yameitwa Munene Kamuli, but Nyamu is a high value woman. When I grow up, I want to have brains like Silas. I'm really taking notes. I'm learning a lot from you people. Sante sana, Lauren, good to see you. Felix, I think I've seen that from Felix. Murigo Guys Arrangements Conference. Utatengeneza. We'll be coming very soon to town halls near you to have conversations. We'll be coming outdoor to have conversations with men and I'll get to build asante. Mugonjeru, great stuff, asante sana. Nanjama Moke, niko ndani, asante. Kanji Leshwan, say someone is married and the wife brings chaos in a family where she does not get along with a mother-in-law and always wants the man to avoid the parents. Should one take this as a red flag and terminate the marriage, or how can one go about it? Gentlemen, can I read it again?
If the wife and the mother-in-law don't get along, those are standard family problems, and you have to look at it from who's the problem. Is it your mother or is it her? Who's the problem? Okay. Obviously, all of us will be biased towards our mothers. But as a man, you want to manage the affairs. If you see that their constant interaction is a point of conflict, that means you have to stamp your ground on what you want out of her. But remember, most women are not very easy to manage. And it's not like like I'm a man and things have to be done in this way. You really have to be creative on how you can balance that kind of conflict. Because what I've seen in most families is the challenges can be solved. Or if they cannot be solved, then they are better off killing to cook as fast as possible from each other. And you can determine these things from the word go, like are they going to get along or not? Because the situation doesn't get bad along the way. If at the beginning they didn't have those matching energies, you should get a back for the rest of the marriage. So as a man, you have to be aware of that so that you try and mitigate it. Most likely it will be there, but it's up to now to see how best you can mitigate it. Because most men who find themselves in such a situation, they tend to be helpless. So don't be helpless. Try and find a workable solution.
Manage.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts? Sema mwanamke analeta chaos.
Yeah, I think
family anakuambia sasa wewe kaa mbali na wazazi.
Yeah, he has answered it. He has answered it quite well. Okay. But in most cases, when a woman wants to separate you from either the people who are closest to you, she could be a narcissist and preparing you for abuse. Okay. So that actually is a red flag. And many narcissists, for example, they want to isolate you so that they can be able then to put you through some treatment without you being able to get a frame of reference or support. So that's a red flag. But it's something that's just to be solved. I normally tell guys that there's normally no major difference between couples who are married and couples who are divorced in terms of their marriages. Sometimes it's just a decision that people make. It doesn't mean that people who are divorced had worse problems than the people who are married. So as much as possible, look at a problem with the intention to solve it, and divorce or separation should just be a last resort, especially if it's an issue between your wife and your mother. That is something that you should be able to handle, unless they are living in the same house. Yeah.
What did you be doing with your wife and your mother in the same house? All right, Tony Mokua, who is a Sigma male?
Sigma, the way they define themselves are those men who are neither alphas nor betas, and they tend to, these nerdy, geeky men who just try to live their life their own way. But as Jacob said, we only have alphas and betas. Wengine ni ya kujiekea. But Sigmas are those geeky, nerdish men,
They're the ones who don't want to get defined.
Who don't want?
They don't want to take a side.
They don't want to take a side, but they try to think that maybe they are intelligent, they are unique, and they can't be boxed into a box. But that we only have two boxes.
Somehow they gravitate.
The rest are just variants of either a beta or an alpha. So you can be a Sigma who's a beta or a Sigma who's a male.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see, a Sigma is basically someone who is socially awkward. They're quiet. They're self-reliant. They don't thrive on interactions. They tend to keep to themselves. So they're quiet,
introverted.
Although they're successful, they are emotionally intelligent and so on. So they don't tend to put themselves out there. Those are what we call Sigma males. And we say that is just you may be an alpha that is lacking social skills. So you call yourself a Sigma male.
Okay. All right. Michael Oronja watching, asante sana. Victor Frederick Okumu, how can they, Silas and Aliet, be engaged privately? All right. I think you can send your number to 0779-800-010. Send your number to 0779-800-010. Introduce yourself, and then you'll be linked. We'll link you. Send your name.
I wanted us to address the issue of cheating before the time is over. Okay. Remember last week, there was a gentleman who was concerned that if your girlfriend tells you that, or a girl you want to court, she asks you for a date, and then you tell her, maybe you change the date. And you're saying, why do you want to start a relationship based on a lie? So I wanted to tell that gentleman, relationships, the way our society is, relationships actually cannot start by being straightforward and direct. And only children say what is on their minds. Okay. For example, what a date is basically a socially acceptable way of telling a woman, I'd like to have sex with you. So when you see a woman that you are attracted to, you cannot walk up to her in the name of honesty and tell her, hey, Madam so-and-so, can I have sex with you? You're never going to have it. So you have to tell her, oh, by the way, I like your shoes, or, I like the kind of presentation you made today. So how long did it take you to prepare this presentation, But what you want is, you don't care about the presentation. But because you are someone who is socially mature, you know that people want to talk about themselves for them to take any interest in you. So you must set up a date. So even this date, when this woman is coming, although we know that 30% of women go to dates because of food, that we call them free food, foodies, many women, when they're coming to the date, they know that you invited her for a date because you entertained the idea that you want to have sex with her. And that's why it's normally said that if a woman is honest, if she doesn't want to have sex with you, she should not come to that particular date, because it's a waste of your time and resources. So the guy needs to know that the game of seduction is not based on being straightforward and direct. It is based on what we say that it is a truth, but it's not full disclosure. You cannot say everything that you have on your mind, because it's an interaction. You say something, she says something, and then you gauge how it goes. Because you don't want, for example, if you tell a lady that you'd like to have a date with her, you'd like to meet her for some coffee, the lady can tell you maybe she's busy. But you see, if she tells you she's busy, she's saving both of you. The correct answer is that she's not interested in you. But by telling you she's busy, she's saving you the pain of rejection, and she's also saving herself being looked like maybe she is looking down upon you. Even when a woman tells you, let's just be friends, it's just a polite way of telling you, I don't feel attracted to you. Okay? So that is how relationships are. You must understand that. And that people can be fixated to the truth in that manner. It's only children who are allowed to say that. Because a woman can come where people are sitting and say, Daddy, I want to go to the toilet. An adult cannot say that. He'll come and whisper, hey, where are the washrooms? You know? That is how it is when you interact as a mature person.
So it's okay to lie. Silas. Jacob anasema tuseme uongo.
You know, it's like a politician who's campaigning. Imagine if Ruto was campaigning and telling people the truth. Like if he comes in, akutakuwa na kazi, the cost of living will go up. Nobody will vote for him. So there are those things that we can't even call them convenient lies. It's just being pragmatic. And especially, you know, Kenya is one of the most dishonest societies you can live in. There are places you can be honest with each other. And I've lived in countries where you can operate on that principle of honesty. But when it comes to seduction, especially the initial stages, I think Jacob mentioned last week that a woman herself, she's going to apply makeup, put on a wig. You know, that's not her. She's trying lying. To upgrade, going beyond who she is. Because in real life, maybe she could be a 4, but with makeup, a woman can upgrade herself. She becomes even a 7. So herself, she's starting on a lie. Then as a man, should you start on her? The only thing you should do is that don't do those crazy lies, or rely to things that you cannot manage.
So at what point do you know?
Yeah, like I had this friend who could take... he'll get a woman and go to a high-end place. He'll take us there, treat us. Then the following day, because he's like, bro, I'm to me some 10K. And we're like, but Jana, we spent 20K unnecessarily. Why would you want 10K now in the morning? You know? So don't be that guy who's trying to do those kind of lies that are not sustainable. You want to... If you're lying, you want to lie within certain boundaries that you can manage. Yeah.
So how do you define the boundaries? How do you define the boundaries of lies?
Don't live beyond your means, for example, to please a woman. You see, you might get a woman and you feel like this woman, I shouldn't take her to my crib umoja. You want maybe to get her into an hotel or an expensive Airbnb up Kilimani. You see, now those are the lies that you shouldn't go through. A woman, if she likes you, she can even come to Kibera. Yeah, I've seen women park very big cars in very funny places. You know, if she likes you, she'll come wherever you want to take her. As long as you show a certain level of commitment and you prove to her that you are worthy like her time. You know, so don't oversell yourself. You want to remain within certain
modest lies. How do you measure up your lies, Jacob? you are the advocate of the lies. How do you measure that?
No, it's not about lies. It's just about understanding what time it is, as we normally say. So you need to have a sense of judgment, and a sense of judgment is something that someone cannot teach you. It's something that comes with the life experience. It comes with how you interact with people, and it also comes with the kind of outcomes you get when you do certain things. So that is just like, it's not like an aspect of maturity. It is wisdom, as we said last week. Don't tell lies, but also don't come with full disclosure that can actually jeopardize your own interest.
Your project.
Yes.
It can kill your project.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on from the conversation on the types of men, I think there's a type that we didn't really touch into, and that is a beta male. What are the upsides and the downsides of being a beta?
The beta male, as we said, it's the majority of men, and
yeah, exactly. At 80%, then it means we really need to discuss it.
Yeah, the majority of men. So beta males arose because you see, like during the patriarchy, we talk about, for example, King Solomon. If he existed for real, he talked about hundreds, thousands of concubines and women. And we know Genghis Khan, for example. There are people who argue today that 3/4 of the world, of the people in the world, have been shown to have DNA that is linked to Genghis Khan. He had so many women. So what happened is that beta males realized that they could not compete with the alphas. Alphas had resources, and many times they also had the physical force. They could take your woman through violence. And so we came up with this concept of monogamy, where one man needed to stick with one wife so that the alphas will not take these extra women, or the women from the betas. So, but beta male in today's society, a beta male is someone who has been, he has undergone what we call blue pill conditioning. And the blue pill is what you get from music, from Hollywood movies.
The church.
Yeah, from the church and so on. And blue
soap
pill,
operas.
yes, and blue pill makes you think that a woman is so precious that a man should do everything and anything to get a woman. So that's why blue pill, the betters, they simp, because they think that the ultimate achievement is to have a woman. Okay? The alphas actually are the opposite. And the betters don't realize that women are actually aroused by men who demonstrate higher value than them. So these beta males, they will use their own resources. You know, for example, he's going to buy a gift. I think you know, if you see, for example, the morning radio shows, men call and say, oh, nilimtumia fare hata kukuja. So these beta males tend to think that they can buy women, they can use money to get these women. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, money buys comfort, not desire. So beta males are men who, because of the way they view women also create rules for them. But women break rules for alphas. For example, you can, if you're a beta male and you approach a woman and you tell her how much you love and you commit yourself to her, and one day when you want to have sex, she tells you, no, me, I cannot have sex before we are married. You must put a ring on it. Okay? So most beta males would say, okay, fine. So if you have to put a ring on it, that's also fine. When can I meet your parents so that we can get married? And then she'll tell you, I need to finish my education. I still want to have my career ready and so on. But if she meets an alpha, the day an alpha tells her, come to my room at this time on this date, she's going to show up and she's going to give it up to him. She'll break the same rules that she creates for the betas, for the alpha, because she feels that the alpha is a man that she doesn't want to lose. She cannot risk losing him. So she'll do everything that he wants just so that she can be with him. So unlike the beta, even when he discovers that she cheated on him with the alpha, he's going to find certain reasons, like, did he rape you? Who is this guy? We can take care of this guy. My friend is an OCS, we can arrest him, The girl will tell him, no, you don't worry about it. It was just a mistake and so on. So these things happen a lot in the society today. So beta males are men who will be taking rules, and they use also their resources because they are not aware of their own value. And they have all this blue pill thinking, they kneel before the women and they worship women and things like that. That's what a beta male is. And a good example is our A-list actor, Will Smith, whose wife, Jada Pinkett, was cheating with a young man in his household. And even when he discovered it, you hear him talking, he's still talking about love, and they're talking about this perfect love that can actually transcend all these kinds of experiences. So beta males have all these ideas from Hollywood, like they belong to the cult of love. They're not very realistic in terms of how they see life. And what we normally say is that we have what we call red pill awareness. And red pill is just about accepting life as it is, as you see it. Not about, it's not as what you're being told. And that's why even in my book, I talk about from comforting lies to cold hard truths. Sometimes the reality is very harsh, but you have to learn to accept it as it is. And one of the fundamental things in reality is that women will love you for their own survival, not because of any other reason. But you see, because men are such romantics, men have created this idea that a woman can still love you even if you have nothing. Okay? And that's why so many men end up in trouble. And these are the ideologies you get in Hollywood, that what you have doesn't matter. And that's why many men actually drop the burden of performance. A man gets married, he gets out of shape, he loses his job, he doesn't look for another job. He thinks his wife will continue loving him. But women are very practical.
All right. Yeah. Silas, are there any upsides of being a better?
Upsides?
Any upsides? Because I think Jacob has taken us elaborately through the downsides. Are there any upsides?
The upsides that, they say cowards live longer, but they die several deaths in between. And I don't think that a man gains anything by being a better. Okay. Not just with this relationship with women, even in real life. Okay. Some of the men were taken advantage of, either at work, by their family, when you look at something like the black tax, for example, when you're an alpha, you'll know the limits. when you are better because you are constantly seeking validation away from your family members, you can even end up over providing and neglecting yourself. So there isn't really any upside with being a better. In fact, betters are the ones who have made the world a horrible place. Better politicians, better men in the corporate world, churches, those are the people who have made the world to be what it is right now, to be where we are. Like when you look in the past, the kind of leaders that we had, those are some did go overboard. But to be a man, it means that you have to be orderly. But when the order becomes too much, it means now you'll end up having people like Hitler and Mussolini and the likes. But the current weakness that we have, the Kinuthiasm, to borrow from Kibe, is basically the better men that we've put at the top. Whether in Kenya or across the world, we don't see very many alphas, men who can stand on their ground. And you've seen someone like Trump recently is coming now to say no to this thing of children deciding like you're a kid, but you are born a boy, you want to be a girl. I saw, and I hope it's verified. I saw Trump saying if he comes to power, he's going to end that. Yes, we need those kind of leaders who can actually stand on their ground, And even men in their own lives, like you have to be principled, you have to be red pill aware, so that you can kill that better in you. Because if you don't kill it, it kills you. You get that? Like you have to kill that simp in you before the simp in you kills you. Yeah.
You have to kill the simp in you before the simp in you kills you.
Yeah. But then they kill men. All these men you see in the village languishing, they are good to their families, family may neglect. That's blue pill energy.
Yes. And even men who commit suicide when they're left by women. That's a better,
left by women. Men who kill women and they end up in jail, that's the blue. Even at the political scene, the media, there's so much blue pill energy going around. And that's something that we really have to step up and get rid of it from like the system.
Okay, you need to get rid of the blue pill energy. Okay, all right. For those who are wondering what the blue pill energy is, I think it's the opposite of red pill.
Blue pill is, the red pill is you're living life as it is. Blue pill, you're living life with the hope that things should be different from what they are. It's women who can live life with a fantasy. For men, life is so harsh and life is real. And that's why we encourage. Like, the beauty of the red pill, it's grounded on facts, evolutionary psychology, sociology, anthropology. Like, we only argue from facts. Any guy on YouTube, any guy writing a book, as long as you're spreading that red pill message, it's grounded on reality. If you're broke, always part of them. That's a fact. If you don't take up the burden of performance and improve on yourself, hit the gym, look good, shed off the extra weight that you have, read, make money, they'll all be very unkind to you, Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's come out clearly. Finally, gentlemen, there's a conversation that we're having. We have 10 minutes to the top of the hour. There's a conversation that we're having with Jacob before Silas, you came in. And it is about younger men and older women. That you have normalized that a woman in her 50s can turn back and get married to a boy maybe in 20s or early 30s and all that. And he was saying, he was making a scenario, for instance, that there is an estate somewhere where there is a lot of young boys who are being kept by older women. Does it, when it comes to, because you think about the hypergamy, then these are women looking down, picking from down. And it's interesting that at some point women also lose the game of hypergamy. But then again, what does this say about is it something? Is it acceptable that you can have? Is it love? Is it natural? Is it real that you can have a 25-year-old or 30-year-old married to a woman in their 50s and all that? We say, okay, fine, it's love. Love knows no boundaries in terms of it. What do you guys think about it, Jacob?
I think it's just unfortunate that many men don't even know their value. And I think even the people who are watching, for example, when they're talking about a woman who is in her 50s and as well, they call her a high value woman. they don't understand the role and the purpose of a woman in the society. You see, if you're saying that this woman has high value, who is in her 50s, she has money and she's in her 50s, take and line up alongside 20-year-old women who are beautiful. And then on the other hand, pick also rich men and tell them to pick a woman here. Then nobody is going to pick her. That is what is going to determine for you the value. But you find that men also need to understand that women go through phases. As I mentioned earlier, in her 20s, she's going through the party years. When she reaches between 28 and 29, she has what we call the epiphany phase. Kevin Samuels used to call it the danger zone. That's the time when a woman is aware that her biological clock is running out. And then she were past 35 now, she reaches what is called the no man's land. And that's when now women become cougars. A woman who is in the cougar phase, she is a woman who has realized that her biological clock has run out, but she still has memories of her whole phase in her 20s or her party years. So she wants to relive that period of her life. Although it is gone, she wants to relive it just for a short time, maybe with a Ben 10. And that's why they go for these Ben 10s. What these Ben 10s need to realize that the value of a man actually lies in what he can actually achieve. It's not based, of course, you can get it through shortcut. But you know, these things happen. Like, let's say you get this woman who is rich and she marries you, and then she dies and she leaves a lot of this wealth to you. If you never learned how to take care of the wealth, even businesses, we see it happening in so many families. When the patriarch or the matriarch of the family dies, leaves a very good family business. 3 years later, the children have run it down and everything is sold. So men need to realize that the only way you can secure your future is by learning how to take the burden of performance and learning how to be financially independent and supporting yourself. It is actually, I will not say that it is immoral, but it's a poor strategy to hang on to the skirts of a woman for your own survival, just because she's an older woman who has more money than you. Actually, it actually is tantamount to giving up on yourself as a young man. When you have that energy of youth, you should use that energy to build yourself, not enjoy the comforts and the luxury that an older woman can provide to you. That actually is, it represents a retreat from everything that is masculine in a man. A man should embrace the burden of performance and build himself to become a high-value man. That is the duty of every man.
All right, Silas.
To add on to that is that to know that if it's a short-term sexual liaison you're having with this woman, that's one thing. But if you're mating with this women as an economic strategy, then that's an extremely poor strategy. It's easy for a sugar daddy to build a young girl than a sugar mommy to build a young man. Because women know if this man gets hold of more money, he's going to go after younger women. Okay. So you rarely see a man benefiting from women because of those relationships. A few could benefit, but most of the time, those relationships, they revolve around mukunya pombe mzuri. You get a good hotel, you fly around, but there's nowhere. If you take, for example, a proposal to this woman, umwambia like, okay, nataka unibaie matatu, nifanye nini, you'll see her slowly moving away. Because women rarely want to give their money to men.
They are very insecure.
They are very insecure about that. Already when she's dating a young man, she's very insecure. Now she can't furnish you as a man to get the man and go. And then another thing about those relationships is that they stunt the growth of a man. Because for the period, for example, let's say you're so good in bed with her, she might want to keep you with her as long as she wants you. A very selfish thing. And as a man, if then you're not working on yourself, you're relying on those cheap handles she's giving you, she can afford maybe to pay you some rent, pay your nation, South Benin, those are small monies. But you can never grow or go where you should be.
You become comfortable.
You have an older woman, you're like her son. So she can never want to see you prosper. Rarely. So for men who do it and you think like it's a good economic strategy, man, that's like trying to milk a stone. You'll never, ever, like 99% of the men, and actually those relationships, they normally have a very bad ending. You see those men being kicked out. You see those men being snatched. Kama ni gari ulikuwa nao unaweza nyang'anywa hata hapa kwa street. You can be kicked out of a house at night, any slight mistake.
And what I wanted to add also, is that women make very tyrannical rulers. When you put a woman in charge of your life, which is the case now when a younger man is having these liaisons with an older woman, they are really dictatorial in the sense that they want to dictate what time you come back home, what time you leave. And I've been told even in cases where in Mombasa, like there was a case of a lady who she used to smell this guy, like she wants to smell your private parts. Have you been with other women? And they check your phones. And you see, if you compare the experience a sugar daddy gives a young girl, like when you're coming to see him, he sends you money for an Uber and so on. Most of these Ben 10s, you have to take a matatu to go and see this lady. And if you're asking for money, you have to account for it. So it's a very, very tough life. And at the same time, the other reason why these women also don't make these young men grow, many times the money that you're chewing is not hers. It's the money of her husband.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's normally the money that belongs to her husband. So she's cheating on her husband with this Ben 10, and therefore even now she doesn't even know how this money is being made. And that's why you also find we have this case where if you look at the top 10 billionaires, or even the top 10 richest people, if you find the ladies, it's normally a lady who has actually divorced and got the money through divorce, or she has inherited it. So in many cases, the lady cannot actually teach you as a young man how to survive. So what you'll get are these handouts. And when she's done with you, maybe she's dead or whatever happens, you're left on your own. It's like you had this arrested development. You are left in infancy. Now you have to find your way as a man. Maybe at that time you're already in your mid or late 30s, which is a very unfortunate situation.
Actually, a good example are those beach boys in Mombasa. In their young days, they are thriving, those women from Europe and all that, but they hold so much money, and then in their 40s, Patanga, they're just broken. All they have is they're just good, nostalgic stories. Memories. And also, lastly, someone shared a dude who wrote on Amakove, Daktari's wall, and he was saying like he's a dude, he's doing his masters, he lives in Syokimau, and he's ready to have a relationship with a high-value woman, mwenye atadrive hadi Syokimau, aende kupewa mapenzi. Man, if you went to the comment section, if you wanted to see true female nature, and then to the comments, and most of the women, I know them personally, who are commenting, they were like, if as a woman I have my money, why should I drive to this man's crib to go to
get some love?
Like, women are always opposed to the idea of giving...
of discomfort.
Yeah, giving men money. They really hate that, especially Kenyan women.
Yeah.
They hate it and hate it to the core. And I've gone out with the women I'll consider who are richer than me, who have their means. I always find that wako mkonogamu sana.
They're very stingy, and even the performance that they expect is out of this world.
They're out of this world.
They want to make sure
be a machine.
They milk everything from you until you collapse. You have to be a machine. So you don't find this, the same treatment you don't find sugar daddies giving it to young men, to young ladies. They treat them very
the same
nice.
demands.
Yeah, but these cougars, they will want to finish you. You have to, everything you're earning, you're getting your earning.
A sugar daddy just wants to do 60 seconds of honest work and and is that one. But this women, if you're earning anything, you have to earn your every penny.
Another comes for free.
And these guys work very hard.
And you see, particularly women like older men. They say that older men are not too much work. They say like these broke men in their 20s wanafanyisha kazi mingi, and these older men only need to just rub their back, rub their chest like this, massage them, and you have your rent.
All right. Below Chumi Kenya, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of guys, a lot of young guys, young chaps, of course, were in such situations, as you're saying it. I mean, it's a reality of things that they are right now. It's the inverse is possible, actually, that there are a lot of women who live in this neighborhood in Kilimani who don't work. You don't see them going to work. They don't have any business. But they live in Kilimani. They do well. They do shit. They're also young men. Of course, we also see them here. On a Monday or on a Tuesday morning, 10 a.m., you'll find them with Crocs. Just
lazing
around and out a balcony and with these headphones and all that. There are a lot of these guys who are in convenience, women and men in equal measure. But since it's men only, I want us to speak to the men. Now, for men who are in these situations, of course, now things are okay. I mean, you're good. You can move around. You can have a little money. You can have your rent paid and all that. But but then again, your productive years are wearing off.
Yeah.
You know? By the time you're getting to when now you should be on your optimum, you're struggling to catch up with the years. Because like we said, the phase of men is inverse. You struggle first, then somehow at some point you start building it up. Yes. So it begins from somewhere. For a woman, she can use, most women have, I mean, you've seen women who have successfully run this game and they are good, they live a good life. They end up picking like a brown guy somewhere and settling down and having children and managing him. But for men, most of the time, it works against you. Now, what did you tell a young one now who is comfortable in such a situation? And the blue pill conversation has made them believe that it is fine. You know, there's no boundaries to love. You can, this 50-year-old loves you, 60-year-old. I mean, you've been normalized, you've been socialized to accept that actually it's normal. You have a lot of these young people, sadly. Guys in university, out of university and all that, job seekers who have even stopped looking for work because it's easier to, saying, anyway, now, what did you tell? What is the message that you would have? Start with you, Silas, and then you go to Jacob. What message do you have?
I think that's basically what we're talking about today, about the burden of performance. Mm-hmm. When you take it up, you're taking it up for yourself. Mm-hmm. I've been able to have conversations with men in their 50s who got their act right. Mm-hmm. They saved their money, they kept, they managed their health, and every choice they made in the right way. Okay. And you find there are better rewards waiting for you when you take care of yourself in your 20s and in your 30s. But if you make destructive choices, if you spend too much time on women or with women are very good at wasting time. Okay. A woman can really, really waste your time. They're very good with that. So as a man, if you're not aware, and you see part of the reason why alphas perform at a higher level than betas, alphas don't have feelings or emotions. They don't have at times, bibi amegombana nini, laughs, it's wasting his day. No.
Moves on.
They are constantly chasing the bag. They are constantly on their mission. We talk about a man chasing a purpose, and you have to discover this purpose first and know what your mission is. And when you do it, you are not. Most of us, we tend to tie our personality and our goals to women or to family. So as a man, you have to link that first and make sure that everything that you are doing is good for yourself first. And then it can be good to others who depend on you, be it your family, your first family, or your children or your siblings and all that. So that realization at a young age and start working on yourself is what most young men need. Most young men need. Those who don't get it, they spend so much time wasting maybe on their first marriage, on women. Like I know the young men who don't have the ability maybe to date and even marry. So unapata wanasumbuana tuna mademo hapa nje, demo anakuja, anamuli parents miezi 3, demo ashamwacha kuko, what can I do, all that. So you have to chase the bag first, and women will follow if they will. Okay. But if your issues and your affairs are in order, whether you are a short man, whether you are ugly, whether women will come your way. Yeah, so don't try and make women the center of your, the center of your focus in life. Your mission and your goal should be. Yeah.
Okay. Advice.
Very correct. So as Silas has put it, we normally say that a woman should be a complement to your life, not the focus of your life. When you're a young man and you get this older woman who has more money than you, she definitely becomes the focus of your life because you have to pander to her. You have to pander to her so that you can actually earn your paycheck. And your role as a man is to maximize your potential at the end of the day. By the time you reach your late 30s or mid 30s, you should actually be hitting your financial stride. Okay. You're not going to be doing that if you're getting handouts from an older woman who you're servicing. So it's a wrong strategy in life. In terms of strategy, it is wrong. And also just in terms of the kind of mindset it's setting you up for. Because a man needs adversity in order to be fortified. Mm-hmm. But what you're finding in such a situation is this woman is shielding you from the adversity that comes with having to chase the bag, with having to apply for jobs, look for a job, wake up every day to go to work. Instead, you're playing video games and servicing her in an apartment that she's actually paying for. So that is a man that is actually selling himself short. Because as we say, ships that are in the harbor are safe, but that's not what ships were made for. A man should be out there chasing the bag, conquering, winning, fighting battles, and coming back home victorious. That's how a man should live his life.
Hizi zingine ni kipindi. All right, eno quizi. Women are evolutionary, hardwired to look for a man who has resources or ability to acquire resources. Men, on the other hand, are hardwired to look for youth, beauty, and fertility. From women's perspective, this assures a survival, and on the man's side, this ensuring high chances of passing his genes to be the best woman. Okay, Benjamin Atika, there are no upsides to being a better. Well, Nixon Andesa, wow, I love this educative conversation. Thank you so much. And Karibu, real stuff for men. Asante. Nelson Mandela, this has been a great conversation. Ian Seme, check up kidogo. Kena Kamwele, does introversion and extroversion play a part in marriages? Okay. No, she asked Dominic, we are learning. Yeah, wow, asante. Stacy Chemalo Kwacha, tusikie, we'll get feedback later. This is men only, Stacy. God gang, men only. Yes, Gaj Alan, definition of high value human being. I think we'll have to wait until next week. Now we'll pick up on that because we are right just past time. Dominic Komi, keep up the good work. Asante sana. No matter how prosperous a man was, if he was unable to rule his women and his children, and especially his women, he was not really a man. Chinua Achebe. All right. Jeff Kim, Gerald Bitok, ask your panel, is there a time frame one should date before marriage? I think we can pick up on that very quickly. Too good time to marry. Okay, right. Munana Kamuli, on which aspect should we look at marriage, African or Western? Since African way, men stand out to be alpha, but Western puts a man to be a beta. All right. So we can build up conversation for next week from these questions. But Gerald, what could be attributed to the high rate of decline in marriages? All right, let's put up in store as well for next week. Contact number, please. Is there anyone who is comfortable giving out their numbers? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. And I give out your number. What's your number? Which number should I give out?
0746.
Just a minute. The Silas. 07
46 222 484.
You put 484. Jacob?
0716 701 159.
All right. 0746 222 484 or 716 701 159.
Yeah.
I think that is correct. All right, so that the context of gentlemen, I've also given up on YouTube for the guys who are asking also for it. Please, you can have the numbers right there. Barasa Oliver, good work, Jacob Aliet, Asante Kaka Devi. For philosophical inquiry, what would a world of alphas only look like? Okay, then we can put up again for next week. Please stabilize something. Edwin Masharia, where did this practice of some women lining up at the finish line, waiting for the man who has been working hard to successfully reach prime originate? Why do they find it easier for such women to do that than to support a struggling man into his prime? I think we can populate that again for next week. The writing teacher, dealing with a woman is all about knowing what to say. You don't lie and you never say the truth. Be mysterious, lead her on. Play with her the cat plays with a mouse, knowing very well you lead her in the long run. Okay. Bye, Brian. Good discussions for boy child. Asante. Eva Wari Mushai. Great conversations and very timely. Thank you so much. Monene Kamundi. You will notice that the earlier leaders we had came from polygamous families, alpha men, but the current crop of leaders who are blue-pilled by their women, tied to one woman. Okay. Stacey Chamaluk, men are naturally hunters and providers in nature. This validation, men are looking for a 50-50. Can never be one partner will have to give more than the other, and obviously should be by men. Men step up. Na musifuta comment yangu. Men can't be men without women. All right. The trajectory being promoted by idealists is that we need to create an equal society for both men and women. While men would love to see that happening, how do you expect women to be submissive to you and to showcase their femininity around you when you have not played a role naturally given to men to be of high value? We need to be real. Men have let down the reality of them being men and acting as such. Okay, and that is Winsome Makosoro. And how do we handle a situation when a woman comes into a life of a man who is doing well in his field and then uses that opportunity to get to fame and then creates a scandal, and the society demonizes the man and kills him completely? How does a man supposed to handle their woman in terms of their careers? Where should a man draw the boundaries? We populate that again for next week. We'll pick it up from that so that we can build a conversation for next week. Felix Omariba, you fuel your premium and fuel a Harrier too. Says Nyanchwani, please give us correct statistics on how you rate women to be mean, or rather are careful with giving their resources. Big question: how do you expect me to give you money as a man when I don't see a potential and a plan to see a return on investment? Money isn't just given. I must be given an evaluation of your capacity to return on investment. There are very few men you can risk to invest on. Okay? Men only, once again. Odome Odoi, and I think they are very valid questions that we can populate for next week. Silas and Jacob, please. Odongono, you guys should invite Andrew Kibe via video link. Okay? Nyanchwani, please spell out where you get your figures from. Don't just splash figures.
Is that a woman or a man saying? Is that a woman or a man?
You can already tell. Alex Amariba, yes, good evening. It has been good work, gentlemen. Keja Graphics, hapa ni kali. Asante sana Keja for coming in all the way from the United States of America. Unless there is anything that any one of you would like to pick on, then I think we should be heading towards our close. Is there anything?
I think the world of us alphas will be very interesting, but I think you need to have betas.
Okay.
Because
the Simpsons.
Yeah, the Simpsons, and the alphas are dominant, and if everyone is dominant, then you cannot have followers. So you'll have to have followers. And also we must remember that the reason also we have hypergamy is because men are not the same. And the reason men are not the same is that so that some can further the survival of others. And as we mentioned earlier, these are things that people can Google if they're asking about the statistics. In general, every generation, a huge swath of men never have children. I think 40%. So hypergamy makes sure that only the most competent men have their genes remaining in the gene pool. The men who are not competent are eliminated. Through hypergamy. So hypergamy will make sure that the best men get to have children. But the world of alphas, I don't see it. Some men will have to step down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you wish to pick on?
No?
Anything you wish to pick on?
What?
Is there anything you wish to pick on?
Just to be brief on that thing of hypergamy and competence, like ensuring that it's the competent genes that are passed on. In the past, it used to be like that. You'll find that the men who are popular were maybe philosophers, artists, like competence in the most qualitative way. But nowadays, if you are a physics teacher and there's a kid selling drugs in your hood, hypergamy will push a woman towards the
guy selling the drugs.
So they find like drug lords, these Nigerian con men, and men who are very sketchy and shady are the ones that now women run to, and they make very poor choices. We've talked about that thing of having sketchy baby daddies. But to finish up on hypergamy, especially now for women, for them it's a game, and that game ends off badly for those who don't know when to stop. Okay. They say that any good dancer is the one who knows when to
leave the stage.
Okay. So for those women who don't know when to leave the stage and they play that hypergamy game, ultimately it flops. Either she'll get a baby by those alpha men who will disappear and they won't even provide. Either she'll end up old without a man, still expecting that high value man will come out of nowhere. In a sense, it flops. And another thing that men need to know, sometimes hypergamy has no ceiling. I've seen those white men who say that, they'll go to Asia or they come to Africa and they'll pick a kienyeji, go with them abroad. Or those men, especially kisi men who come from America, unakuja unachukua kienyeji kwa village.
Ndo unapaka rangi.
Ndo unachukua majuu. Those marriages, they collapse within almost 90%. Within 2 years, ashaenda hivi, vila mpata makaratasi hivi, she's done with you. So that's another thing that both men and women have to understand about hypergamy. For women, you can play that game. It's good to be hypergamous for you to get a good man. And by a good man, I mean just a man who has an ambition, who has a vision, going forward. But if hypergamy is constantly sending you towards the drug lords, the politicians, there are those men.
The guys who are
ultimately, in the game, you end up scoring your own goals. You end up with 3 children with different baby daddies who can't provide, and you become very bitter. And then time Silas writes a post online.
You come there.
You're coming at me as if I'm the one, I'm responsible for the choices that you made. So it also flops. Also something that women have to learn.
Okay. Yeah. All right. It's been a pleasure having you. Just very quickly on YouTube. Douglas, where can I find your books? The numbers I've put there is numbers 1 for Silas Gisiora and Jacob. Please, you can talk to them directly. The numbers are right there in the comment section. You can also inbox on Facebook. You can inbox Jacob Aliet on Facebook. You can inbox Silas Gisiora on Facebook as well. You can speak to them directly. You can call them through the numbers that I've just posted in the comment section so that you can have a conversation with them. Nicholas Mwirabua, thank you very much for this session. Will these conversations keep happening? These conversations happen every single Sunday of the week. Every Sunday evening from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. We have the men only. And soon we'll be telling you where you can find us on location. Very soon we'll do a conference also. A conference. A lot of those requests have been coming out. So we expect that, promise us that if tomorrow we say we want to convert somewhere as men and have a conversation, you're going to show up. The problem with them is watakuchocha, then kesho hapo kuja uongeleshe viti peke yako. Umechukua umesema. So you need to promise us that if you have to face the biggest crisis for this generation will be raising a man. That is the biggest. Every generation has had its own crisis. There are those who had a problem with every generation has had their own problem. They just had a problem with disease, and they had a problem with the economy. The biggest problem that you're going to have as this generation is raising a man. And I think as men we need to start converging and and trying to have conversation, because there's no formula. We have to keep having these conversations and learning from experience and putting up things that can be helpful to men. So very soon we'll come down and have conversations with you. When we come there, make sure that you show up to support this conversation as we move forward. So yes, Nicholas, every single Sunday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. we are right here. And also we'll be telling you where you can find us very soon. Boya Gilbert, could you make all these videos downloadable for offline viewing? Kindly. Yes, you can download a thing on YouTube, you can save, but also it's best that you watch on YouTube so that you also support us. You watch on YouTube, then you share the link, other people watch it. You can always come back to the channel to ensure that you watch the videos. You don't really have to know, because when you come back, you help us as well by building our video portfolio. Manu Kwech, nice conversation. Asante sana. Kepropo teach. Crack the matrix, the rules of money and wealth change. It's not about being employed as a physics teacher competing with a drug cartel. The laws governs and forbids where there is a big money. Government doesn't want competition. All right. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Looking forward again to the conversation next week.
Thank you.
And everyone who has tuned in again this evening, we've been of value to you. Or this conversation has been of value to you. If it has been, ensure that you share it with fellow men. Copy the link and throw it to the next brother. Let's keep this conversation running, and let's ensure that we have more people listening to us. This has been Men Only on the 12th of February, Sunday, 12th of February, 2023. And we'll see you again next week, next Sunday. And tomorrow, see you on the tackle and all through the week. See you on the tackle from Monday to Friday. On Sunday, we'll be right back with Men Only. Till then, have a good night, and I wish you a great week ahead. Bye-bye.